Sure.
Okay.
Wait for the numbers. How many people do we have today? Good morning, everyone. Welcome, peeps. And welcome, people.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, indeedy. I hope you're well. I hope you're getting ready for the exciting news that we had about next week. So it should be interesting. Today we're just going to continue with the general theme of things. Last time we had speech. I hope you could hear that okay. I hope the audio was good. And here's a warm-up question whilst we're waiting for the viewing numbers to go up. How did he explain the progress of man? Progress means like move forward, right? Advance. What special thing did he do to explain how that had changed from cavemen to now? Well, actually, to when it was made. That was 1961. Who's going to give me the answer? What's today's lesson about? What's the answer for that one? All right. So what did he do? He condensed his speech, right? He condensed the time from how many years? 50,000 years? And condensed that down to 50 years, so reduced by a factor of 1,000. And then he could, using the 50-year time scale, he was able to explain when things had happened in easy, understandable terms, like last month we invented the wheel, last week we invented aeroplanes or something like that, right? Okay then, so today's lesson is all about figurative language, which we kind of touched upon in the last unit about speeches, and it's also something to do connected with what we have done before as well. So, what is figurative language? Here we see used by poets to say something different from the usual way. Yeah, well, that's true. It's used by poets and in poems and novels, but we see all sorts of creative forms, including advertising, speeches, songs. It's even in everyday language. So, for example, exaggeration. When you exaggerate, you say something. Well, we'll give examples later. Other things are like idiomatic speaking, idiomatic speech, which is just idioms, and stuff like proverbs, which you've heard before. Okay, so what's the difference then? We got figurative language and we have literal language. So literal, L-I-T-E-R-A-L, is the language that we're used to when we're dealing with grammar, right? The car is red. This is literally speaking, literal language. So figurative language might be something like, I've got your back. Doesn't quite have the same direct meaning. There's something there. I've got your back. What does that mean? You've got my back? How have you got my back? But this is a way of saying, you know, I'm right behind you. Same kind of thing. It means I'll support you, I'll protect you, I'll cover you. So don't worry. Okay, so this is the type of language which is termed figurative. So we're going to look at different examples and categories of figurative language. So really, you can categorize different sayings. So there are ways of expressing which give deeper meaning or provoke thoughts, emotions, and they give a message or purpose. All right, so let's look at some categories, and more importantly, look at some examples. For this though, make sure that you make some notes. Okay, you need to make some notes because the terms you will have to remember. I'm going to give a test at the end, a little test, a mini test, just to make sure you're listening. Is that okay with everyone? Alright, so remember what this is all about. This is all about new ways of expressing yourself, heightening the senses and understanding, like a deeper understanding. And then uses language which makes you think of images and imagine things in a different way. Okay? Right, first one then. So figurative language can be classified into 5 categories. And those are resemblance or relationship. So resemblance, that's basically 2 things that have a lot of similarity. Something resembles another thing, it means it's almost the same. Or there's a relationship, so some other connection. Then we have emphasis or understatement. So emphasis is like giving extra special importance to a part or aspect of something. And then understatement is not saying it enough. So it's almost the opposite. Then we have figures of sound. So like how you describe the sound of a lion. What is the sound of a lion? How would you write that down? Or consider the sound of a frying egg. What is that? How would you write it down? And also verbal games. We have games about speaking, right? Verbal. And this is really the same as like play on words or wordplay. When 2 words have different meanings. So I'll give you an example. I've been to the dentist many times, so I know the drill. Okay, I've been to the dentist many times, so I know the drill. Don't worry. Alright, so drill here has 2 meanings, right? We've got drill as in routine, and then drill as in the machine that makes a hole in your tooth. Alright, so it's using one word in 2 different ways, and then kind of humorous, it's making it a funny thing. Alright then, next one. So, is there a resemblance between these 2? Sorry JT, how would you say it? How would you say it? So this comes into like the first category which we're going to look at, and the name of that is simile. Not smile, simile. So it's 2 unlike objects which have a common quality, so something that is the same about them, but they're 2 completely different things. So in the last example we had air and noodles, right? So then if we know the structure, we're using words like and words as, words like or as, and then an example of that might be, my love for you is as deep as the sea. So imagine how deep the sea is, and then you're equating how much your love is for that person, or how deep it is, right? How deep is your love? My father is as busy as a bee. That means he's very busy, could be working a lot. And bees are also busy, right? There's that similarity between the two, but they're not the same thing. They're totally different objects. Okay then, you could have, so for the previous example then, this, how would you describe it? So you might say, looks like. How would you say look like? You'd use looks like. Your hair looks like ramen noodles. How would you use, so that's like, how about this one? How could you use that for the same thing? So we need to know what it looks like. It's curly, right? It's curly. The adjective would be curly for that type of hair. So you could say, as curly as a packet of noodles. Right, okay. All right, so this is our first one, simile. Number two, metaphor. Metaphor is like simile, except we are saying it directly. So we don't use like, or we don't use as, excuse me. So directly comparing two things, that means making them equal or equating the two. So for example, you might have, men are dogs. Her heart is stone. All the world is a stage. Something like that. So we have direct comparisons. Here we've got teeth and pearls. Equals. Time equals gold. And then sunshine. You are the sunshine of my life. So these are equal. Okay then, that's metaphor. Number three is personification. This is when you give human traits to objects or ideas. So not human, inanimate. Could be an animal or an object or something else, a concept or idea. And then an example could be, fear grabbed me as I heard footsteps behind me. So fear isn't something that can grab you, right? But it's okay to use that because it's a literary technique. You could have the clouds cried. What do they cry? Well, they normally rain water, right? So the clouds cried tears of joy after the long drought. Tears of joy because we've got a time when there has been no rain because it's been a long drought. Or you could say the lightning danced in the night sky. So if you imagine a dark night and then a storm coming in, and you can see the lightning dancing away. So this is personification. This is when you give human traits to non-human things. Okay, that's number three. This one, how do you say that? Onomatopoeia. This is like using words for sound, so figures of sound. And then you might think of, in the example there, you have burgers or eggs, whatever you want. The 6 burgers were sizzling. Sizzle, sizzle. So this is the kind of the sound that you hear, sizzling on the grill. Probably why there's a company as well called Sizzlers, all about steaks and things. And then what sound does a snake make? Well, it's a hissing sound, so it hisses. The hissing of a snake scared me. Alright, so, and bees buzz because of the wings, the sound that their wings make. So what other sounds are there that we write down? Those are pop, splat, bang. And then in Thailand, you have different sounds for animals, right? So what is woof woof? It's woof woof in English. And then in Thailand, hong hong. Right? I actually heard a dog hong once. I think he was barking all night, or maybe he had a cold or something. Like hong, 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 hong. So I actually did hear that, a dog honging. Alright, so that is onomatopoeia. And then if you don't know how to pronounce these words, but you know how to spell it, then get onto YouTube and then type in pronounce onomatopoeia, and then search it, and a video will come up and then tell you how to say it. I highly recommend you do that for this word. Just click on the first thing that comes up. Alright, number 5 is irony. So what is this? This is really the opposite. The statement is opposite of how you feel or how others will feel. So we've got some examples here. 1, 2, 3. My own example might be, nice hair, JT, nice hair. Or it could be, good news, everyone. School is now open from 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. So this could be an example of irony. Okay, and then that's a reference to Futurama if anybody wants to watch that program. So good news, everyone, and then he says something that is bad news. Irony. Next one, how do you say this word? Hyperbole. Hyperbole is an overstatement or exaggeration. So it might be something like, I can't go to the party, I live 1,000,000 miles away. Right? 1,000,000 miles. So you're overstating something, exaggerating something to an extreme. So number 1 then, you snore louder than a freight train. You can change that. You could have you snore louder than, think of an animal that's would snore loudly. You snore louder than a bear, for example, would be okay too. Okay. Other examples might be your mum is going to kill you for, I don't know, doing what? For spilling milk in the car. So she's not literally going to kill you, but she's going to be very angry with you, right? So this is hyperbole, and this is an example of exaggeration or overstatement, overstating something. Next one, number 7, litotes. So this is for rhetorical effect and emphasizes the truth. So you could have this one. This is a good example. When you mean to say you're correct, you can change that to you're not wrong. Okay, so that's a pretty simple idea, but can be quite effective or quite funny also. Next one we looked at already, alliteration. So this is not anything new to us. But examples then, these are the tongue twisters. This one I think I tried to say last time, Peter Piper picked. And then we've got some other ones as well. But remember, it doesn't have to be all the words, it can just be just 2 words which are close together. They don't have to be next to each other, they can be separated by another word. But an example might be cheap Charlie. You're a cheap Charlie. Charlie is just the name of somebody, right? You're a cheap Charlie. You never tip. You never give a tip. It means you're a little bit stingy. Stingy with your money. You're thrifty with your money. Cheap Charlie. Okay, number 9 is oxymoron. So this is when you have seemingly different words or opposite words together. And then, so this is what is meant by contradictory terms. So simple, simply, impossible. This one, original, copy. So they kind of don't make sense together, right? A copy of an original becomes original copy. Another example might be pretty ugly. So pretty ugly is, like pretty means like quite, something like that. But pretty is like beautiful and ugly is ugly, right? So they shouldn't be together, but you will hear this term quite a lot. Next one then is a pun. A pun is like the play on words. So for example, where we had the dentist, I gave you the example already, the dentist and the drill. I know the drill. I've been to the dentist many times, I know the drill. So you can use that to describe an idea that suddenly comes to mind in this example. Hit. So an idea that suddenly comes to mind is like something hitting you. And it could also be, you could also use, instead of hit, you can also use struck. It struck me as peculiar. So struck comes from the word strike, right? Infinitive strike, meaning to strike or hit. Okay, so I wondered why the ball was getting bigger and bigger, the ball getting bigger and bigger, then it hit me, or then it struck me. The next one. That's kind of it really, but there's two more I wanted to talk about, which is idioms, and then we're going to look at this in more detail in future units. But I think you're familiar with it as well already. So for example, a piece of cake is one you probably already know. It just means easy, right? A piece of cake. So it's not obvious from the words what the meaning is, unless you already know the meaning. But other stuff could be, other idioms could be, for example, in everyday language, where you have, what have you been up to? So I said to you, what have you been up to? So what have you been up to? Up to what? So that really means up to is used in a way that is, at what point are you up to in your life? Something like that, which means, obviously, what have you been doing? So what have you been up to is the same as what have you been doing, but expressed idiomatically. Okay, so that's idioms, that's number 11. And then number 12 is understatement. So this one is what is the opposite? What is the name for overstatement? Type away if you know that. For understatement, it's an expression with less strength than expected, the opposite of hyperbole. So, for example, then, I'll be there in 1 second. I'll be there in 1 second. Or, in the picture here, we see a man who's about to inject some blue liquid into someone. This won't hurt a bit. Okay, so it's understating it. It means there's going to be, it's worse than is said. Alrighty, that's pretty much it. So now then, let's have a little quiz. I hope you've been making notes, because this is where your notes are going to be handy. But actually, let's go back, shall we? Yeah, we can go back actually. So number 1 is simile, number 2 is metaphor, number 3 is personification, number 4 is onomatopoeia, number 5 is irony, number 6 is hyperbole, 7 is litotes, 8 is alliteration, 9 is oxymoron, 10 is a pun, 11 idiom, and then 12 is understatement. So what categories do the following belong to? Are you ready? So this is where you can type a response into the system there, so I can have a look. I suppose I'll have to wait because there's a lag as usual. First one, then, number 1. He drew a line as straight as an arrow. What category does that belong to? You can see a nice picture of a man with an arrow. So what kind of literary device is being used? Is it onomatopoeia? Is it exaggeration? Is it understatement? What is it? Oh yeah, very good. Looks like we've got some answers coming through. Yeah, okay, looks like you're all getting that one. So it's simile, that's quite correct. Why is it simile? Because we have as. We're using as in this example. Alright, next one, number 2. What category does this one belong to? Can I see you for a second? Can I see you for a second? Which one is this? Is it an idiom? Is it an overstatement? Is it hyperbole? Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Can I see you for a second? Okay, remember hyperbole is overstatement. So is this exaggerating? Can I see you, if you're exaggerating, can you be saying, can I see you for a long time? Can I see you for 1,000,000 years? So that is exaggeration. And exaggeration is the same as hyperbole. What is this then? Can I see you for a second? It's going to take much longer than a second. When people chat to each other, it's usually 1 or 2 minutes for the very quickest time. So only 1 second then is clearly understating, right? It's an understatement. Bodinchai, got that one right. So this one would be understating how long it would take, right? It's going to be much more than 1 second. So that is understatement. Alrighty, let's have a look at number 3. The sun was beating down on me. Like when it's a very hot day and you're walking and you can feel the sun beating, making you feel a bit tired as you walk. Feels like you're losing power if you're walking a long distance. So the sun was beating down. What literary technique or device are we using? What is the figure of speech? Idiom is like a piece of cake, so you don't really understand what that is to start with. You have to know the meaning for an idiom. The sun was beating down. Any ideas about this one? If it's not idiom, what else could it be? So beating, I guess, you need to know what beating means. Beating could be like pounding, beating, something like this. When you beat somebody down, it's usually doing this action to somebody else. So the sun is like beating down on your head, making you tired and lose power. So what is this one? If idiom is not correct, what is this? Yeah, it is figurative language, well done. Somebody's got it right, maybe. Any others? Oh, giving up. Right, yeah, this one is, you're making it like a person, right? It sounds like a person, but it's actually the sun, it's not a person. So you're giving the traits of a person to the sun, so this is personification. Well done. Well done, everybody, yes, good. All right, number 4. How about this one? This is quite a long one, but this is all about homework. I'd rather take baths with a man-eating shark or wrestle a lion alone in the dark, eat spinach and liver, pet 10 porcupines, they're the spiky animals, than tackle the homework my teacher assigns. So you'd rather do all of those other things rather than do your homework. What is this an example of? What category does this belong to? Yeah, very good. So this one is exaggeration, right? You're exaggerating, or hyperbole this time. So very good. How about this one? Dinner is on the house. So on the house just means for free. I.e., you don't have to pay. It's on the house. It's on the house. So that could be the restaurant pays for it or somebody else pays. Dinner is on the house. What category is it? Metaphor? Simile? Is it hyperbole? Which one of the 9? 9, not 9. Which one of the 12 is it? Dinner is on the house. Yeah, okay then. I see why you said idiom. Idiom. Alright, we go with idiom, yeah. That's fine. Next one then. The clouds smiled down at me. You've even got a nice picture for this one. Yeah, so this is smile, this is something a human usually does, and then who's doing it? The cloud is doing it, so this is personification again. Well done. Number 7, this could be a problem spelling this one. But hopefully you've made some notes, so look at your notes and then spell that out. There's nobody spelling it yet. The sound something makes. So like the sound of a dog, for example. Litotes. That's where you use double negatives, so like good becomes not bad. You're correct becomes you're not wrong, so not litotes. Yes, okay, very good. Onomatopoeia. So this is a sound something makes, like splat or bang or wallop. Kapow in Batman, if you've got some readers of Batman out there. Comic strip.
Copy from the first one.
And then this one. So what's this an example of? What category can you put this into? Don't copy from your friend. Or the first person that writes it. Is it simile or is it metaphor? They're quite similar. How are they different? Well, a simile as uses as. Don't forget it also uses like. Okay, very good. So this one is simile, right? That's very good, everyone. Number 9, I could sleep forever. That looks comfortable, doesn't it? Nice comfy place to sleep forever. What is that again? Is it onomatopoeia? Is it irony? Hyperbole? Metaphor? Simile? Alliteration? What could this one be? Yeah, so this is exaggerating, right? So we've got hyperbole. Number 10. He drove his expensive car into a tree and found out how the Mercedes bends. He found out how the Mercedes bends. The bend is like when you bend something. He's bending it around a tree. It's a wrap around a tree. So can you remember this one? Ooh. Yeah, it's like some of you got it, yes. So this is playing with words, right? It should be bends like this, not benders. So this one is pun. Right. How many of these are there? Number 11. I used to have a fear of hurdles, but I got over it. You're scared of hurdles. This is a hurdle. This guy's failed the hurdle. He has a fear of hurdles, but got over it. Yeah, very good. This one's a pun. Okay, number 12. The wheat field. So this is wheat or hay. So the wheat field was a sea of gold. Yeah, cool. That's a metaphor, right? You're equating the wheat field and saying it's the same as a sea of gold. So this is metaphor. Very good. Alrighty, so this brings us to the end. What I will do is send you a worksheet, but it won't be something that you have to spend too much time on. But before I do that, which category is this in? The police station got robbed. This is different to all the others, so which one is this? It's not metaphor, it's not simile, it's not pun. The police station got robbed. Think about what's happening. So there's a challenge for you. Yeah, okay, very good. So this one, the police are the people who should be stopping robbers, right? But they themselves got robbed. So this is a case of irony. It's a case of irony, right? Two contradictory terms, the opposites. Okay, what is the other challenge? So I want you to choose 5, so like 5 categories, and then make your own examples. So don't just go to Google and search the first one, but I'll send you a Google form, I guess, that you can put your words in. Remember to, if you're unsure of a definition or how to explain it, look it up, but then explain it in your own words. Then find an example that you might use in everyday language or that you think you like and that you'd like to use in the future. So these are 5 things which will be personal to you, and then you can put that down on the Google Forms that I will send you at some point in the future. Okay? So think about that. You're looking for 5 categories and then some examples for each of those categories. Okay, that's it, people. So, see you next time, unless there's any questions. We'll wait for it. So I guess I'll be back tomorrow, right? See you tomorrow. Any questions? If you have any questions, of course, you can send those on the group chat, and I'll be happy to answer. But for now, that's it. So goodbye. See you again tomorrow. All right then.